Hello, my name's Galena. I'm the fiancé of Joshua Lee McCollister, who was murdered on July 8th by Deunn Willis and robbed by Danielle Durand. Regarding the subtle nuances of a loved one being murdered, I'm going to talk about a troll that I encountered last night and blocked on my page. This person said something to the effect of, well, I never said I had a fiancé before on my page. This is not the first person that's said something to that effect. You know, I've encountered people thinking that I didn't even know Josh, actually, and if I did know him, that we weren't engaged, and I actually had to screenshot his mother making a comment that Josh only ever loved two women in his life, and that was his wife and me, his fiance. And that's what made previous trolls back off. It's really upsetting when people make this kind of comment because, see, Josh and I, we were engaged, but because of the stalking, we didn't get to just like have an engagement party or yell it out or anything. We had to keep it under wraps because we were scared. And it feels like when people are essentially taunting, oh, you weren't really engaged, or prove you were engaged, it's just like, it's so triggering from all that we had to go through. And I think that, you know, how would Deunn Willis and Danielle Durand react to the fact that I have to, like, prove that this person who was the love of my life, that I knew them, that I was in a relationship with them, that we were getting married, I have to, like, prove it because of what they did to him. I shouldn't have to do that. And unless you ever have your fiancé, unless your fiancé is ever murdered, you will never understand it. You just won't. You know, people tell me it's all going to be okay, and I'm so tired of hearing it. I was talking to Sandy the other night about, we're both tired of hearing it's all going to be okay, because Josh called his mom every day. That was her joy right there. And now she doesn't have it. Don't say to his parents it's all going to be okay when they have to deal with that absence of the thing that they had every single day. Don't tell me that the second person I've ever been in a consensual relationship with in my life, that he's dead and it's all going to be okay. It's not. Especially don't tell me it's all going to be okay when not one newspaper in Humboldt County has acknowledged that he was killed over a puppy. And it's not like the newspapers have not been made aware of this. They're just not printing it for some damn reason. You know, I've heard there's corruption in Humboldt County, that, you know, these one or both of these families have money and that it's being kept out of the papers. I can't understand anything other than corruption at this point, because this looks like a cover-up. He was killed over a free puppy. The advertisement was on NextDoor. Why are these papers not printing that? There's no excuse for it. And because they are not doing their job, that's why I am doing these videos. You know, I had hundreds of people when my father's story went viral saying, Galena, do TikTok, Galena, do videos, and I didn't do it because I'm autistic, I'm epileptic, and I know that there are times when my stimming appears on camera, or I have seizures, so my brain glitches and I stutter or something like that, and I'm embarrassed by this stuff. Even if other people aren't picking up on it, I pick up on it. I didn't want the world to see me like that. I'm private. The only reason I came out of my turtle shell effectively is because the newspapers aren't doing their job. You know, this troll even pointed out that I blink too much. Yeah, I'm autistic. Me blinking a lot is one of my stims. Congratulations to you, lady. It doesn't mean I'm a liar. It doesn't mean that Josh and I weren't engaged, that the amount of blinking I do, that's just a stim. Hooray for you for making fun of me. I'm going to talk about, again, one of the reasons that I'm shooting these videos, though. Sandy and Neil are good people. And before this, they had nothing to do with the true crime community, you know, which is a very ghoulish community, frankly. They don't know how to go about ensuring their son, their very beloved son, gets justice. They don't understand how media works in that regard, and unfortunately, I was forced to learn. So I want to make sure that they know that I am doing everything I can to make sure that Josh gets justice. I might fail, but I need the two of them to know that at least I tried. That's so important to me, especially because Josh was stalked for 6 months before he died because he was in love with me. And I know maybe if I'd just done these videos back then, maybe if I'd been brave enough to do them back then, maybe our stalkers would have backed the fuck off. But, you know, Josh didn't want me doing media stuff. He used to tell me never read the comments. Remember one time I saw that somebody had done a YouTube video on me, and I was really traumatized by that this person I didn't know had done a YouTube video on me. And he pulled me close and he whispered it in my ear, "They will break you." He didn't want me doing anything to do with the media. He said I'd been through enough. This was not my job. He wanted me to have a better life. But I will not let him get swept under the rug. John Truffle, that's taken care of. And that's all I keep telling people, I play my cards close to the vest. I play the long game. People don't believe me because they don't know me, okay? That situation's taken care of, though. That's all I'm going to say right now to the families of the murder victims. It may appear like I quit. I worked on this for over a decade. That to the side, it would be the most awful disregard and disrespect to who Joshua Lee McCollister was as a person, that not be finished. I will not disrespect my man like that. And that's all I'm going to say about it right now. It's taken care of. I panic, though. I have panic attacks. Ever since Josh died, I have breathing problems. Since he died, that I've never had before in my life, that maybe Josh's murder is going to not get. Maybe he's just going to be some invisible person, like these people seem to be counting on. And they'll get off with like 3 years or some crap like that. I can't let that happen to him. He was failed so many times in his life. You know, people said to me, Josh was one of those people that just slipped through the cracks. And no, he did not slip through the cracks. There were adults who could have helped him. And I'm not talking about Sandy and Neil here. I'm talking about like the doctor who diagnosed him with autism and then didn't ensure he got services. He didn't slip through. They shoved him through those cracks, and then they stomped on his fingers when he tried to get out. I can't let that happen to him this last time. He needs to be fought for, and I'm going to fight for him to the bitter fucking end. But besides doing this to make sure Sandy and Neil know their son's being fought for, I think a lot about Josh and how he was a man of faith. Like, he had no wavering in his conviction about faith at all. He said his prayers every day. I made sure to tell his mom how, because she's a woman of faith like me. She's religious, and Josh said his prayers every day. He was not afraid of death, not even remotely afraid of death. He knew that when he died, he was just going to go right back into the beloved arms of Colleen. That's all that death was going to be for him. He was so calm after he was shot. Focused on his breathing. He did everything right. And I know that part of that is because he knew that if he did die, he'd go back to Colleen. I'm sure he was terrified for his parents and for me and for the babies, but beyond that, no. He wasn't scared. Absolutely, I know was not scared of death itself. I'm not scared of death either. When I was in my 20s, I did nearly die. And I was one of those very lucky people that has that bright light at the end of the tunnel experience. And it was such a tremendous comfort to me, because what I remember about being in that tunnel, rushing towards the light, rushing so fast towards that beautiful light, was that there were people that I loved right inside that light waiting for me. And I was almost in it. And the person that I really remember being there, seeing so clearly, was my grandfather. I've kind of regarded my grandfather as like a guardian angel all throughout my life. And there have been so many moments when I am afraid. And I will say in Mandarin, I am not afraid. Because my grandfather was a Chinese immigrant. Now, is he my biological grandfather? No. And I've had a lot of racist people be snarky at me because I will not call that man anything but my grandfather. That's who he was. He adopted my father. There was an adoption ceremony for when that happened. And so that's just grandpa to me. That's just who that is. When I say grandfather, I'm never talking about Stan Treffel. I'm never talking about Brad Vincent. I'm talking about Justin Liu. And he was there for me in the bright light. He was right there. I was so close to being able to be hugged by him again. How can I possibly be afraid of that? I'm not. What I am petrified of is that the mission won't be finished. Josh and my mission for these serial killers to get caught, for the bodies to be found. That's the thing that haunts me. That's the thing that keeps me up at night. I need to finish the mission. And only after that happens can I frankly be allowed to die. That's how I think of it. And when that day eventually does happen, then it's not just going to be my grandfather that's waiting for me in the bright light. It's going to be Josh McCollister. And when I see him again, he needs to know that I fought for him. He needs to know that I did not let him, as a murder victim, be swept under the rug. So these videos are for his parents, and these videos are for him and any trolls that want to make crap online about we weren't engaged, or he didn't know me, or I'm a professional victim. That's what they called me. Whatever. You do you, you know. I think about ways that I've failed the families of my father's victims. I think about it all the time. maybe if I'd fought this way, maybe if I'd fought that way, maybe if I'd done this thing differently. But bottom line, I know I have tried. I know I have fought like hell. I tried. You know, I think a lot about that movie. Where Susie Salmon gets to heaven finally, and she meets all the other murder victims, and they hug her. I've always really identified with that scene, and it has pushed me along so hard for so many years, because I know the day will come when I will be held accountable by God for every failure regarding what my father did, and I will be held accountable by his victims. I've tried to do right by them. I think of them every day. I have ever since I found out what my father was. I've tried. I'm still trying. Josh only did the things he did in Mendocino County because he was trying to do right by them too. Without John Treffel being what he was, maybe Josh would never have wound up in Mendocino County. I don't know. I really don't. But I do know that because Josh was part of the posse, there is just such a connection between what John did and Josh winding up where he did. I can't let Josh's murder be swept under the rug. It doesn't mean that the other stuff isn't getting done. It just means I am fighting like hell for Josh right now, and the other stuff people are going to have to find out in the long run what's going on behind the scenes. Because you tell me, if I don't do this for Josh, who's going to? It won't happen.